What's going on, everyone? Scotty White, World Combat Sports. We back at it again. You know what it is. Hopefully, everyone is doing great out there during this lockdown. For some regions, they've opened up pretty much, trying to jumpstart the economy. So those of you that was able to take advantage of that, still be safe out there, because COVID-19 has not disappeared and it's not going anywhere for quite some time. But let's get down to it. For those of you that's tuned in, man, hit that thumbs up button for me. Show some love to World Combat Sports Media. It's always appreciated, as always. Got some damn good topics today. So I want to first start off with what we can. I'm gonna do it without my glasses. What we potentially may be facing. What's going on, M. Greg? Salute to you, man. Good to see you on deck. I want to talk about, the blackouts potentially will carry out for the remainder of 2020. I had my hope up, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, maybe we can kind of get a little taste of potentially revisiting the arenas by the end of 2020. But the way it sounds and the way it's looking, they may be limited to the amount of people that's able to visit these boxing arenas for the entire rest of the year. The reason that is that even though we're hearing less and less of COVID-19 to a point of mass breakouts, right? Still is going on behind the scenes. And like I said before, if you really want to influence the public and those that may be tuning in, all you have to do is talk to the media outlets. And that's what's going on here. You have networks who are digressing from talking about new outbreaks. You have individuals that are basically passing away from other ailments, and they're diagnosing them with COVID-19 on their death certificate. Man, we really don't know what is the deal, like who's truly passing away from COVID-19 and who's not. Because they're basically saying you come in there with respiratory problems, flu-like symptoms, and everything else to go along with it. They saying you got COVID-19. They say you got the coronavirus, man. Have you heard anything crazy? Like, I'm curious to know if some of these people, being this allergies, flu, cold, some of these people that's just been dying, been misdiagnosed and put to rest with COVID-19 on their death certificate just because it's a part of a pandemic right now, man. Josh Talks UFC is in the building. Salute to you. Perky, what's good, man? Perky, you seem like you upset. You come in the building, you don't even say what's up to World Combat Sports, Perky. What's going on, man? what you upset about? He comes in and say, "What's up, Josh?" Like what? What are you saying? You trying to put somebody on timeout or something? Like, oh, I'm not gonna speak to World Combat Sports. But anyway, man, thanks for joining, man. It's all good, bro. It's all good, y'all. But like I was saying about the individuals that's dying, we really don't know what is the primary cause. What is the reason, for them actually passing away? Is it other preconditions or, old age or, health conditions that they experienced this year? But just put it this way. If we didn't have the pandemic right now and some of the people that was passing away, would we hear about it? I don't think we would hear about it as much, but it seems like everybody who passes away right now, we're hearing about it, and it's all associated with COVID-19. I mean, it seems like everybody, every time you turn around. So back to my initial point is that I don't foresee us visiting or attending any fights in person this year. It's just no way to sit up here and check the box on that and be clear and confident that we're going to be able to look at any type of boxing, mixed martial arts, anything. But if you look on there, right, in other countries, they are putting on fights. I know you saw the post where the guy was being disinfected. Man, that can't be healthy. You know what I'm saying? That shit can't be healthy. They spraying down a fighter before he fights. That cannot be healthy, man. Hell no. What's going on, Matthew? How you feel? This is happening. The UFC are making promos promoting the arena that they are using. No secrets anymore. Let's go. Yeah, they are. I'm definitely going to get to that. Yeah, I'm going to knock out some boxing topics first. But yeah, the UFC is basically putting on the card. They're doing the promos and everything. And we're definitely going to talk about that. Boxing, sooner or later, are going to have small micro events. Okay. Those events are going to be without an audience. It's going to be with minimal staff and so forth. It all depends on the government, the state government that's opening up these and lifting these bans. It's all up to them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying we're not going to have boxing. I'm saying us as fans, media, we're not going to be in there interviewing fighters. You know what I'm saying? We're basically relegated to online, Skype, Zoom, StreamYard, all this other stuff. Because if you look at it, if a fighter has to fight, I don't think they're going to want to come in contact with anybody else, leading up to this fight. The combat sports community is changing as we know it, people. It's changing big time. And it's going to be very difficult to walk up in person and get an interview with these fighters who are somewhat paranoid, man. They don't want to lose they don't want to lose the fight, of course. They want to stay healthy. They don't want to come in contact with anybody that they're not sure they've been cleared. It's tougher than you imagine. Seriously, this shit is tougher, more difficult. It has more underlying issues that we know about. Josh is hyped about the UFC, man. The fights, it's gonna be a hype card, real talk. But let me get through this boxing first, man. I gotta get through the boxing there, Josh. Thanks for tuning in, though. I gotta get through the boxing right quick. I wanna talk about Arum Spence stopping in with the podcast, All the Smoke, which I salute them for being able to get an interview with Arum Spence in that particular light, because Arum Spence, he only talks to certain people, and he's not really a talkative type of dude. He's pretty much does all his talking inside the ropes. But it was good to hear him on the podcast, y'all. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be frank. It's good to hear Arum Spence speak out and take accountability that he lost focus on his on his drive. You know what I'm saying? And everything that he was supposed to be focused on, and the fighter is on his level. And I was really surprised for him taking accountability the way he was, because this is a guy who could have lost his life, who was on video just sitting, chilling with his partners. He was slurring his speech. He was obviously intoxicated. But you know what? We do that shit. We celebrate. And he had just came off. The reason why I didn't take too much disdain for it, because he had just came off the biggest fight of his career against Sean Porter, right? He just unified the welterweight division. One more step toward unifying, right? I mean, unifying the undisputed, right? And he's in the parking lot talking, and he's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? I understand. He's celebrating. He's talking with his boys. No problem. Until he got behind the wheel and he had that accident. And Arum Spence has basically said, he lost focus in his career to what he was supposed to have been doing, and he this is the first time he said in so many ways, he lost control of the car, which he, to be honest, no cap, like, not trying to make any light of what happened, but he may not remember. He may not remember everything entirely on what happened at the accident without looking at the film. You know what I'm saying? He may not remember, But he said he had abrasions on the right side of his face. He knocked out some teeth, scratched up his shoulder and his legs. Now, the one thing that I've been wanting to hear for quite some time is he sparring? And he basically mentioned he's not sparring yet. And I was trying to tell y'all on here, I said, it's something funny about Errol Spence's speech. And come to find out, he knocked out some teeth, right? So he is having some posts. He already has some posts put in, and he has some temporaries. So he's allowing those posts to heal to the bone structure in his mouth. And then he's going to get the permanents in there. And then he'll be able to go to sparring. Now, even with sparring, teeth can get knocked out. But once you have the post in there, it allows you to have teeth replaced because you got that post sticking out the bone. But in order for you to get that foundation established, the stability, you have to wait till that post form correctly. It's just like a fracture. They put the post up there and it has to heal and strengthen itself with the bone of the in the gums or whatever, in the teeth. So that's what he's waiting on. He's not sparring right now. So to be honest, it was good to hear him, just talk about his accident, get it out in the open. Just let his fans know that he's been cleared 100%, y'all. Errol Spence has been cleared 100% to basically train and do whatever. And that's good to know. That's not the first time he said it, but Errol Spence is, he's been cleared mentally, CTE wise, any type of physical damage. He's been cleared by the doctors to train, but not for sparring. Because the only reason he's not sparring, like I said, is because he's waiting for those posts to heal so he can get his permanents. They just talked about miscellaneous stuff that people may not know. They asked him how him and the Charlos met, and he was talking about they met in the amateurs, and he ended up bonding with Jamal Charlo mostly. Jamal Charlo turned pro first, and Jamal Charlo turned pro after that. And they bonded or whatever in the amateurs. He talked about, I believe Jamal Charlo, if I'm not mistaken, beat him in the AMs, I think. But he did mention it was a good video, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I can't say anything less than that. It was good to see my man Spence out there. Even though I haven't had the chance to sit up here and interview the man, it was good to see him out in the public. The question was asked about Floyd Mayweather. They asked him, say, okay, would you fight Floyd Mayweather? He was like, Floyd Mayweather's retired. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for me to sit up here and talk about fighting Floyd Mayweather. If he retired, he said, well, what about if you had the opportunity, in your prime, his prime? He said, in my prime, I would beat Floyd Mayweather. And look, would you expect anything else from Errol Spence? Would you expect him to say anything else that he wouldn't beat Floyd Mayweather? He's definitely going to say he would beat Floyd. You know what I'm saying? And also, they asked him this question, which, I thought was pretty good. He rarely talk about that. Errol Spence was asked, who is your 5 all-time great boxers, right? And a lot of people tune in, they'd be like, well, I'm curious to see what style of fighter that Errol Spence is going to pick. So in no particular order, he mentioned Pernell Whitaker, rest in peace to the OG, right? Pernell Whitaker, Jerry McCullum, right? Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Terry Norris, and then last he said Lennox Lewis. No Floyd Mayweather, and I'm glad he picked his own top 6. You know what I'm saying? You had the G-Man in there, you had Sweet Pea in there, you had Sugar Ray Leonard. A lot of people don't mention Sugar Ray Leonard. Dude was a beast. And people don't give him his credit for his speed and the way he could box. Y'all need to check out the fight that he had against Donnie Lemon. You know what I'm saying? And Donnie the Blonde Lemon. He fought that dude at a higher weight class. I think it was like at 168 or something. They had some catch weight, and Lamont was giving it to Sugar Ray, but Sugar Ray showed how tough he was. He made the adjustments, and he ended up getting the victory. I mean, I like looking at that fight because it showed me that Sugar Ray was willing to convince the people or show the people that he had skills to make those incredible changes outside of a weight class that he wasn't comfortable with. Like, he was really outweighed. He was a smaller fighter. But to go up there and fight a much heavier fighter like Donnie and give him the business and not known as a power puncher, but we all know what accuracy does. We all know what timing does. We all know what precision does. You know what I'm saying? It can mess a fighter up. He also was asked about if he was given a 3-fight contract deal for millions, who would be his, fights that he would want to fight right now. And first he said Manny Pacquiao, and then he mentioned Terrence Crawford, and then the third, when he really didn't know, he just said Danny Garcia. So it was no Sean Porter. He really don't have anything good to say about Keith Thurman. You should know that by now. And I understand why. If you look at my lives way back in 2018, man, I was saying, shit, Errol Spence continued to call out Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman won't even acknowledge the man. He won't even show Errol Spence no type of recognition. Like, it's almost like saying, you ain't recognized, homie. You are not recognized. So he lost respect for Keith Thurman. So, of course, Keith Thurman wasn't on the list. But yeah, he said Manny Pacquiao, Terrence Crawford, and Danny Garcia. And to answer people's questions, Errol Spence also put out there, he said, what a lot of people don't know is that, me and Terrence Crawford talk periodically. We even FaceTime recently. And, he made a solid point to say that the fight can't be made online. We can't fight online. We can talk, but the fight isn't going to be made online. And which is true. But we all know you can make a fight if Facebook, if social media, IG, Twitter picks up enough heat. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of communication we in right now. Fighters can talk shit back and forth. And guess what? The fight end up being made. That's real talk. So he's training right now. I was also happy to hear him finally say it, kind of put some credence on, what the hardcore boxing fans may have thought and some of the speculation that was going around. Like, a lot of people were saying that Errol Spence was weight bullying, right? And he was. Like, Errol Spence balloons up in weight. A lot of people always talk about Gervonta Davis and everybody, balloon up in weight. Errol Spence was known to gain weight in between fights, right? He said for the Sean Porter fight, he was 189. And in 9 weeks, he went from 189 all the way down to 147. Can you imagine that shit? Seriously, can you imagine that? This dude said he went from 189 down to 147 in 9 weeks, man. That was a hard weight cut. He said, if I would have had an easier weight cut, the fight would have been much more simpler for me. But he had to goddamn do a crash course to drop those pounds, and that's what it was. And then also, he said that when he fought Mikey Garcia, he was in the sauna, still losing weight. He, still cutting weight before the weigh-in. And then he couldn't balloon up more than 10 pounds. They put these rehydration clauses in there. He couldn't even rehydrate more than 10 pounds, y'all. I mean, I don't blame Mikey Garcia's team for doing that, but I'm just telling you how strict it is. Like, y'all think these fighters, these champions, they have their own way. Like Floyd Mayweather used to make all the calls. No, Floyd Mayweather fucked the game up for a lot of people on how easy he was able to do and make the decisions, right? Floyd Mayweather changed the game, but also he fucked it up. But then you look at Errol Spence. Errol Spence said, With Mikey Garcia, he was in the sauna. And that's basically telling you that, yeah, he had to do another hard weight cut to drop weight. And he went in there and did what he had to do. But give it up to man down, Errol Spence, giving an in-depth interview. Definitely something that I would have liked to been a part of. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to all the smoke, man. Matt Barnes. You know what I'm saying? Steven Jackson there doing a goddamn awesome job, bro. And we're talking about basketball players, multi-talented athletes out here interviewing boxers. Just show me some love. I want the love. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk some boxing. Being that we're not going to be able to be on deck in person anytime soon, Next, I want to give a shout out to my man, Joshua Greer Jr. Man, come on, Joshua Greer Jr. I'm glad this news is coming out finally about the bantamweight division. And you know what? I gave you a little bit of insight that the bantamweight division is a hot division right now, and you all are not really tuning into it. But Bob Arum just did an interview. Shout out to the Boxing Voice. And Bob Arum was basically on there. Man, the coolest thing ever, y'all. Like, I've never had a bad moment with Bob Arum. I really never had an in-depth conversation either, right? But give it up to Bob Arum, right? Even in the interview, when they say, you know what, Bob, we're not going to keep you this long. We're gonna basically, we're not going to take up any more of your time. Bob Arum say, shit, I don't have anything to fucking do. Bob Arum now, in this pandemic, Bob said, I don't have shit to do. That's what I'm talking about, man. I love that shit, bro. Like, I appreciated him saying that. He said, I don't have shit to do. Let's talk. So I gotta talk about it. I have to talk about little bits and pieces of the interview that I feel that's important. One point that I like what Bob mentioned was, Joshua Greer, the bantamweight division. Naoya Inoue, right? 19-0, I believe 16 knockouts or something like that. 15, 16 knockouts, right? So he was talking about why the fight wasn't made between him and John Casimiro. And so the Philippine fighter. So the reason is that Inoue, he couldn't return back from Japan. So once the pandemic and everything happened, Japan shut down travel, pushed travel restrictions, and he wasn't able to get back over here. But Casimiro, he's still over here training in Vegas. So what Bob Arum made was a good point, which some people may not like. It's only going to affect the lighter divisions to a point, but they're saying we're going to have to make fights with the fighters we already have here in the United States. If you have some neighboring countries that have fighters over here still training, well, they can still be on some cards. But mostly you'll probably see some of the fights being made with some U.S. fighters versus U.S. fighters because they're residing here locally in the U.S., which is great, right? And that brings us to Joshua Greer Jr. Casimiro, the WBO bantamweight champion, he's not going to be facing Inoue. So guess what? Potentially, word on the streets that Joshua Greer, who was supposed to face Jason Maloney, may indeed fight John Casimiro next, whenever this lifts up. And the one thing about it, we may be seeing some of these fights take place in a blackout, y'all. But man, I'm happy for Joshua Greer Jr. fighting out of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Garfield Park. Hey, I'm happy that his name is popping up for this title bout. He's been waiting on it. I mean, look, dude been waiting on it and waiting on it. I've been supporting Josh Greer since before he signed with Top Rank. He's one of the most technically skilled fighters in the sport. And I really hope Don't Blink get the title shot with the Filipino fighter, Casimiro. He's a tough dude. Casimiro, he shut down Zolani Tete. You know, the one who went in there and knocked out I forgot his name, but he knocked him out in 11 seconds. Simonizo. You know what I'm saying? He knocked him out in 11 seconds, and then he faces Casemiro and he gets knocked out. So now, potentially, when all this start to, takes traction again, we may see Joshua Greer Jr. in there against John Riel Casemiro at the bantamweight division for the WBO championship. That's going to be hot. That's going to be hot. I'm telling you. So shout out and salute to Joshua Greer Jr. Hopefully I'll be able to get him on here and we can talk about the word. It's nothing official yet, but it's good to hear his name in title contention, on the front door of stepping in there in the ring and fighting for a WBO world title. What else he mentioned? Also, Bob Arum was talking about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. He said that a lot of people are talking about step aside money, like he's going to pay the step aside money. He said, I'm not paying no step aside money to anybody. If at the end of the day, if somebody else want to put on this fight, let's just say Saudi Arabia, if they want to put on this fight with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, and they want to put the request out there or something for step aside money to Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder has to accept the step aside money. He has to accept that. They can say, okay, we're going to give you $8 million step aside money. Deontay Wilder has to accept that, y'all. I don't know why people going around here acting like, oh, just because they talk about step aside money, Tyson Fury is going to be able to face Joshua. No, Kubrat Pulev will have to get step aside money, and Deontay Wilder will have to get step aside money. But both of those individuals, those challengers, will have to accept the step aside money. Forget everything else you heard. They have to accept the step aside money, y'all. So it was good to hear Bob Arum address that. He was also saying that the problem that he had with Dana White, right? He said he felt because, as regionals, as states begin to open up, and we're hearing that UFC 249 may indeed take place in Florida next, coming up May 9th, right? Bob Arum was adamant that he didn't appreciate what Dana White was doing. And he explained himself, and I appreciate him doing this. He said that the reason why he was upset was that Dana White, during the heart of the pandemic, when it was peaking, when you had people dying all over the place from this COVID-19, and there was really no control over it, he was attempting, like I mentioned previously, to go on the Indian reservation, who don't have to abide by state commission, and he was trying to put on a fight in the middle of everything that was going on with this global crisis. He said he didn't appreciate that. And I even said it, that when you start messing with Indian reservations, people get pissed. They start getting touchy. They start being sensitive, and they start taking, they start taking it personal. So that's exactly what he was saying. He was saying, like, Dana White was trying to go over here to Tachi Palace and Casino during this crisis on the Indian reservation where they don't fall beneath the state guidelines. So he was trying to get over just to put on a card. And I was saying, you know what? I think it's a bit stupid and idiotic for him to do some shit like that. But he's not against fights being put on or promoted during the crisis. He's just want people to understand there's protocols that has to be followed, especially on his level. They can't just send fighters in here and fight without proper protocol. And those protocols for sure is testing of the fighters, testing of the people that's going to be in the building, following state regulations and guidelines, making sure the fighters are protected to compete, everything, y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's real. Everything. So That's one of the points Bob Arum touched on. Another good point he touched on. The topic was brought up about Terrence Crawford possibly facing Jermell Charlo, and how he responded like, I'm gonna show you who the real, line is. So he mentioned, it was brought to his attention. He say, Bob Arum, he say, I didn't hear about that. What about that? And it's hard for me to believe that Bob Arum was not privy to the information that Terrence Crawford and Jermell Charlo. He might have. Hey, Bob Arum, he might have been somewhere in his mansion, you know what I'm saying? Chilling, drinking some damn aged wine, eating crackers and cheese, somebody feed him grapes, and just chilling, He said he didn't hear nothing about it. But what he did respond, he said, you know what? Crawford can basically fight who he wants to fight. That's what Crawford can do. So if Crawford wants to face Jermell Charlo, we can make it happen. He said, we can make that fight happen. But that particular fight cannot happen in a blackout arena. A fight like that cannot happen when there's no fans around. It's just certain fights that we can see with a blackout audience, and there's certain fights that's the promotion cannot put on because they're not making any money to do it. You know what I'm saying? They're not making any money. So they just can't say, okay, let's make this happen. So that's where they at, man. It's like some damn good points Bob Arum was touching on. What else he say? Oh yeah, Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko. The whole debacle about Teofimo saying that Lomachenko was making it difficult, didn't want to fight in NYC, and Bob Arum was like, that's not true. Lomachenko loves MSG. He loves Madison Square Garden. He said, but the thing is that all this pandemic and all the restrictions that was taking place, it kind of messed it up for a lot of people. He was saying, but make no mistake about it, the fight would have happened. He said a lot of people was up here saying that it was Teofimo's backyard and Lomachenko didn't want to fight in his backyard. He said Lomachenko loves fighting in Madison Square Garden. He enjoys it. So, that's not true. A lot of people are going to say what they want to say, but it wasn't true. I said, all right, cool. It's good to put that to bed. You know what I'm saying? And then potentially that fight, we really don't know when it's going to happen now. The reason being is that, once again, Lomachenko is out of the country. And then we have travel restrictions that's in place. So we have to wait to not only internal to the U.S. guidelines begin to lift, we have to pay attention to the bordering neighboring countries and their travel restrictions begin to lift until, for us to start throwing bigger cards. So all these neighboring fighters that are out the country, including Khabib, Lomachenko, all these guys is out. They probably can be, they potentially can fight over there in their country outside the U.S. But here in the U.S., you're going to see a lot of U.S. fighters contending against one another. And look, some of these fighters may be able to get title shots that really wasn't even in the running to get title shots in the next year or two. You know what I'm saying? Potentially. I know Shakur Stevens is like, when this shit lifts, I'm moving up. I'm moving up to 130. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that too. But what else did Bob Arum? It's so much that went on, but it was a damn good interview, man. It was good to hear Bob Arum, of all people, say, you know what? I don't have shit to do. Let's talk about this boxing. Let's talk about it. I got plenty of time. So he was just hitting all the wickets, man, talking about some future fights. He mentioned Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, that it's no such thing as, him paying extra money to step aside money for Deontay and all this. The fight is a fight. Deontay Wilder is scheduled, contractually to fight Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury can say what the hell he want. It doesn't matter. Whenever this lifts, we'll get back to it sooner or later. You know what I'm saying? We'll get back to it. Andrew Rodriguez in the building. Salute to you. What's good? Let me check. Al Richardson, man. What's good with you, man? Hopefully everything is cool, my brother. Good to see you on here. Shout out Richardson, man, my classmate. What's good with you? So besides that, my last boxing comment was that Tyson Fury has been talking a lot about, Deontay Wilder. He's surprised that he would even want to take the fight, which is bullshit because, anybody who truly understands the champ will take the fight. He's not all of a sudden afraid because he faced adversity in his career and lost his belt. No, Tyson Fury is just on some bullshit. He's saying that I can't believe that Deontay Wilder would want to step back in the ring with me after what he experienced, in our rematch. And then he was basically saying that he believed that Deontay Wilder is doing it for the money, y'all. He's trying to put the money in there like somebody's desperately up here fighting for money. Look, let's be honest. What fighter isn't fighting for a paycheck? They're fighting to get paid. And then they're fighting to make more money and more money. That's why you have to make sure you go in here and perform well, build your brand up so you can get paid, right? So Tyson Fury was saying, yes, a lot of U.S. fighters that love living like rock stars, but really they're at rock bottom. You know what I'm saying? So Tyson Fury is trying to throw shade. He's trying to talk some shit. You know what I'm saying to myself? This is the dude who blew through. Look, Tyson Fury blew money through his nostrils. He freaking threw away money. And for him to come up here, Tyson's that fighter who people listen to him all the time and don't hold him accountable for shit. But he's up here talking about Deontay Wilder is stepping ahead of the goddamn, just because he need the money and trying to insinuate that he may be going broke. He have a lot of people around him that he needs to pay. And another sense, he was basically saying that I can't believe he would want to step back in there with me anyway. But what I'm gathering is Wilder finished the fight on his feet. Just like Tyson Fury finished the fight on his feet, the first fight they had. So now, being that you all both experienced a tough fight, now we take it back to a trilogy, erase all the theories, all this other shit that took place, everything. We go back in there for a trilogy, for everything, all the marbles, and you all fight it out, and let's see who the best heavyweight champion out there. You know what I'm saying? Let's see who the best heavyweight champion. That's the only thing we can do. Period. But y'all need to stop listening to every word Tyson Fury says as truth. That shit ain't scripture. You know what I'm saying? He's talking some bullshit. Tyson Fury, the dude who left the sport, pads, on cocaine, drinking, gained all that weight. And he's talking about a lot of U.S. fighters live like rock stars, but really they broke. They rock bottom. Why did you come back to the sport, Tyson Fury? Tyson Fury came back to the sport because he needed the money. And they just rolled out the red carpet. First of all, what we want you to do, Tyson, we want you to basically understand that the pebbles, look, the petals, the rose petals that's at your feet, will welcome you as royalty with one condition. We want you to basically say that you had a mental illness so the fans can start showing you sympathy. You know what I'm saying? Showing remorse for your discretions and your evil doing. And it's basically for you to convince them that you're not a malefactor. You know what I'm saying? You're a good guy. So that's what we're going to do. The PR team has talked it over. You come back with a mental illness as the forefront and you stick to it. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, we already got on the phone. We talked to Wiki. The Wiki has already changed it. So therefore, when fans go look you up online, they see that Tyson Fury left the sport after unifying the titles with Klitschko. because of mental illness. You understand? You know what I mean, Fury? Anyway, bullshit. Retro for life in the building. Salute to you. Man, I'm not going to take entirely too long on this, but yeah, salute to Bob Arum, man. I liked and appreciated what he did. I'm not even gonna lie. Somebody of his stature, been in the game as long as he has, he basically said, I ain't got shit to do. What you got to talk about? That's the kind of interviews I'm trying. I'm trying to, have somebody, just calm, cool, on whatever tier, and talk some shit and educate me on some shit I didn't know, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Josh say, I think when this corona stuff starts to look a bit better. Now I'm gonna tell you, Josh, I'm gonna be frank with you, man. You must be typing 150 to 200 words a minute. I swear to God, when you dropping comments in here, you doing minimum goddamn 8 lines in this bitch. I ain't gonna lie, Josh, man, you must goddamn be a clerical goddamn technician, man. Your home keys are on your fingertips. Goddamn, you have chips in your motherfucking fingertips, man. Shit. I think when the corona stuff starts to look a bit better, we'll start to get some MMA and good media at the events. I think Dana said some media were going to be there at the event. Yeah, man, it's probably going to, only be the ones that's vetted internal to the UFC, because Dana White, they have like a close-knit community when it comes to the media. That's why you just don't see anybody and everybody asking questions at the press conferences. You know what I'm saying? You just don't see anybody. I would definitely like to, check out some mixed martial arts cards in the UFC level, Bellator, PFL. I'm not just restricted to UFC. I definitely would like to go to other organizations, because I understand the fighters that's over there. You know what I'm saying? Just like Roy McDonald, he's going to be fighting PFL, man. Retro for Life says, salute WCS. Salute to you, man. Josh say, Bob Arum versus Dana White, UFC 250. That's the main event. Come on, Josh, man. Come on, bro. Paulie Malignaggi referee. Man, Paulie, man, that would be extreme bias, because he thinks that MMA fans are the dumbest. So there's no way that Paulie can referee that matchup if it was to happen. Perky says, Sugar Ray, my favorite. Not boxing related, but did you see Cowboy said 2 days before the McGregor fight, he didn't want to be there and basically didn't want to fight, and his head wasn't there for it? I didn't read that, nor can I confirm anything of that. And Cowboy is who he is, man. He's at a point right now, in my opinion, he's taking paychecks. Because if you're doing quick turnarounds, like you're not having full fight camps, you're just going off the skill set that you are basically, that you're naturally comfortable with, that you're skilled at, you're just fighting at the skill level and repetition that you're used to. That's what Cowboy Cerrone's been doing. If you look at boxers, you know what I'm saying? Boxers go through training camp. Just say they do 8 weeks. All right. They go in there and fight. A boxer, you're not going to have them turn right back around and say, well, he just finished a bout in May and he's going to be returning the first, the latter part of June for a tough fight. That's what Cowboy Cerrone was doing. So he really didn't have no true fight camp. He was just in there jumping for a paycheck. He didn't care what happened. He just know he's a tough SOB. And he not worried about the outcome. He's going to get his ass whooped. If he win, he win. If he don't, he don't. The true Bob Arum said Crawford versus either Pacquiao or Spence after the COVID-19. He's saying the fight can be made with Terrence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao. We don't know. But he's saying the fight can be made. We don't know what's going to happen. But what he did say is Terrence Crawford can face anyone he wants to. He can make it happen. He said if it's Pacquiao, if it's Jamel Charlo, if you want to move up and weight, Bob was like, okay, let's make it happen. L Foul Player, what's good? What's good? Salute, thanks for dropping through, man. Who would have thought the only sports in 2020 would be WWE if you count that as a sport? German soccer, football league, and UFC, some boxing around the world. It's not something we predicted, of course, because we really didn't see it coming. And the reason why I say that is because we just had that huge fight in February. The fight in February was a packed house. It was one of the biggest boxing matches in the history of the sport. So for everything to be shut down after that fight, in March, we are basically nocturnal when it comes to sports having an audience, and they're putting on blackout events. The last event for Showtime was with no audience, minimal staff, everybody. Who would have thought that? From a packed MGM Grand to basically no people, no audience, no fans allowed, minimal staff. It's unbelievable, man. And no, we couldn't have imagined at all. We couldn't have imagined that. WWE being a sport, man, it is what it is. I don't sit up here and knock these WWE guys, but one good thing about them is that their whole entire match is scripted and predetermined for the winner. So, hey, that's what it is. They don't need corner man, cut man, somebody to give them water. A lot of people don't understand. These wrestlers are going through the whole bout, their match. They're not sipping on water. They're not sitting up here getting iced down and all that. They're just going and performing the time limit until the finish is applied, and then they leave. Well, it hasn't started yet, but the German government gave the league the permission to start back up again, and they're aiming for May 9th, and all the players are back in training same day. Cool. May 9th could be a good day for sports. I'm not trying to hate, but I don't think Bob Arum likes Dana White or MMA in general. It's possible. It's possible. You know why? Because Bob Arum has made it perfectly clear he doesn't care. He doesn't care about mixed martial arts. He made it perfectly clear. He don't have to mince his words and be very cautious, and reserve about what his opinion is. He don't like MMA. He said it. I think he sees UFC as a threat to boxing. Man, look. The UFC, first of all, isn't a threat to boxing. UFC is an organization. It's no way the UFC could be a threat to boxing. Boxing is a global sport, as mixed martial arts is a global sport. So the UFC being one single entity is not a threat to the sport of boxing. Not even close. Not even freaking close. The pay scales are so far apart. So far apart, man. The stars that's in the UFC and the stars that's in boxing is distance, it's space that separates that. So people have to understand, boxing and the UFC aren't two sports. Boxing is, the UFC is an organization. April 18 was risky. I think the May 9th event is a bit safer now. The event has Commissioner Rena great card now. And the UFC is being a bit more open and telling the fans what's going on. Man, look, man, Josh, you need to be down there at the ViStar Veterans Memorial, arena, man, so you can kind of catch the fighters coming in for real, because I don't think it's any more safer than where we at right now, bro. The reason why they lifted all these bans is for the economy. Like even around here in Georgia, man, some of these local spots have now opened up. You can't eat inside the restaurant, but you can go in there and order food. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully you're right, bro. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully everything is good to go. I don't really think May 9th is any special than right now because we still have people dying. So we'll see, man. We will absolutely see. Josh will say Pettis beat Cowboy and Cowboy retires. To be honest with you, bro, like I said before, I don't think Cowboy Cerrone, I don't think right now him having a kid, right? Even though he has his own ranch and I think a school that's out there, I think he's fighting for a paycheck. So I'd be really shocked if Cowboy Cerrone said, I'm going to retire after Anthony Pettis. Because Cowboy may go in there and defeat Anthony Pettis. You know why? Pettis has been known to come up with these injuries when he's in a tough fight. If it's not his hand, it's his ribs. I mean, Cowboy Cerrone may show up. Look, Cowboy Cerrone may show up. He may go in there and beat Anthony Pettis. Seriously. He may indeed beat Anthony Pettis, man. Don't say I didn't tell you. Michael Johnson Boxing talking more, man. Salute to you. What's good? Now Bob wants to say he can fight anyone, but stop him from fighting Pac-Man. Man, you know how the big dogs, the OGs, they can get on the mic and say what they want to say, but I would definitely, if he's saying Terrence Crawford can fight anybody, the first fight I want to see out the pocket is Terrence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao. I'm talking about on Terrence Crawford's side. Now for Errol Spence, he's not fighting a tough fight when he come back, period. He's not fighting a tough fight. He's fighting somebody. And you know what? I hope it's not that dude that was on YouTube, calling him a bitch ass nigga. I was like, bro, you don't even believe that shit. You better goddamn pull up the video of when his partner got out of jail and was talking shit to Errol Spence and say, you know what, I was knocking motherfuckers out and when I was locked up. I'd do the same to you. And that's when you see Errol Spence dig into his body. Errol Spence was goddamn digging to it. And that was his friend too. He folded his friend like a wet envelope, dog. Come on, man. Spence ain't nowhere close to that shit. D Hodges, salute, man. What's good? Love it. They only got one champ in there, MMA. Well, it depends. They have interim titles and they have the undisputed, which is, of course, one belt. You know what I'm saying? They don't have different sanctioning bodies and stuff like that. They have one, super champ, undisputed champ, or whatever. And then every now and then, if the fighter is special, they'll put an interim title up there. And then there's a recent, which kind of made me cogitate a little bit about the UFC and where it's going. For them to create a BMF belt. They created a BMF belt for Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. And I said, God damn, UFC, you have held tight for a long time. Why create a pointless belt? Why? You didn't create a pointless belt for Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. Why do it for Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal? I mean, both of them have multiple losses to their record. It didn't make any sense. It kind of gave me an impression that Dana White was getting a little desperate. You know what I'm saying? To bring some attention, to bring some more money, to see what the fans was biting on. But yeah, that BMF belt is useless. It's pointless, man. But it was a good fight. The fight almost ended via head kick. Give it up to Nate Diaz for being as tough as he is. But he almost got finished just like Josh Thompson finished him. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good point, man. Yeah, let's just see some good fights. MMA. D Hodges love it. They got one champ. All the younger people like me, I think more younger people are getting into MMA and watching MMA than boxing. It depends on what your acquired taste is. Combat sports is acquired taste. It's an influence. Some people grow up, if they grow up around boxing, most of the time they're just gonna stay linked up to that. Just like a magnet. They're gonna stay linked up to the sport of boxing. But then you have some people that may grow up with boxing and then they say, you know what? I'm kind of feeling, wrestling and jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts all together. Let me go over here and start training that since I've been training boxing. So they kind of make the crossover and they start doing more things, you know what I'm saying? And they might find themselves competing as a mixed martial artist. But I see where you at, man. I just never had that mentality. Like I grew up around boxing, before mixed martial arts. Martial art was around, but mixed martial arts wasn't around. But I just always liked, combat sports in general. Mike said Cowboy is just the next man up. That's true words. Cowboy is the next man up, man. He's just a paycheck. He shows up to the office. He checks in for work. He does his job, so to speak, and he clocks out. That's what Cowboy does, man. And as much as respect I have for Cowboy Cerrone, at one point in time I say, he's a Hall of Famer because he's fought all the big names, but he just couldn't pick up the belt. And then all of a sudden it got to a point where he said, you know what? I can't get the belt no more. So let me just surrender and just become a journeyman, a gatekeeper, an opponent, a stand-in, whatever the case. Josh say time for Cowboy and Diego Sanchez to retire. Those are two guys that have took a lot of damage. And Cowboy is on a 3-fight losing streak. And Diego Sanchez is just crazy to have a guru as a coach. Man, I like the nightmare, man. Seriously. I like Diego, man. He's always been a weird type of dude, but you got to understand, there's a lot of weird dudes in combat sports. If you have a guru as a coach with no experience and that's your only coach, that's enough said. Diego has a great career, but it's time for Sanchez to retire. He took way too much damage. You know what? Diego Sanchez gave us some very, very entertaining fights, people. Very entertaining fights. Regardless, he has a guru to interact with his spiritual side and to, center him mentally and all this other stuff. Okay, cool. But it's not too much that guy who hasn't fought is going to do for Diego Sanchez. You know what I'm saying? His time is come and gone. He has some very memorable fights, especially with Clay Guida. You know what I'm saying? I wish he would have goddamn moved out the way of that BJ Penn's right high kick. Diego has been in there with some very good fighters, and you have to give him respect. Even at the end of his career, you got to show love to him, man. To be honest, the BMF belt was a cool idea, and Jorge Masvidal and Diaz are gangsters, and the belt was a one-time thing. I partially agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a cool idea. I mean, I'll take that back. I agree with what you're saying. I kind of was reading two comments at one time. I agree with you saying as far as the BMF being a cool idea. Sort of. I just felt it broke the standard because the UFC had a standard. They had one belt for the champion. You know what I'm saying? The super champion, the undisputed champion. And then every now and then the interim title will be inserted, but it meant absolutely nothing. It meant nothing, y'all. The interim title meant nothing. So they had that standard, that structure. I appreciated that. And then they brought this bomb ass freaking BMF belt. So I'm like, it's not the franchise. You know what I'm saying? It's not the franchise belt. This is a BMF belt, which basically deals with slang terminology to basically that's placed on somebody outside or somebody that's inside, just a person in general, that really for you to be considered a bad motherfucker, you have to be co-signed by people to say, yeah, he a bad motherfucker, man. He a bad dude. You have to be co-signed by somebody outside. Because if you haven't proved it, people's like, man, why they saying they're a bad motherfucker? They got losses on their record. But for other people to say, you know what, that's a BMF right there. For real. Nate Diaz is a BMF. You know what I'm saying? Jorge Masvidal. We know both, like you said, both of them dudes are bad dudes. Man, what's going on with my eye? Shit. Both of them are bad dudes, man. Real talk. They bad dudes. But they also have multiple losses. If you're a boxer, all you need is to take down the fence. And wrestling, you're fine. Jones and Cormier, no jiu-jitsu. Well, I can say right now that both of those guys have very good takedown defense, but it depends on how fatigued you are. You know what I'm saying? I agree with that. They don't utilize jiu-jitsu in their fights because their takedown game is so top-notch that the only time John Jones wanted to go in for a takedown is when he had DC fatigued already. So we already know that a takedown is going to happen when there's fatigue in play. When a fighter is degraded, you know what I'm saying, and their energy is low, that is the best time to go for a takedown. I don't care what level wrestler you are, don't care what level jiu-jitsu belt you're holding and how much experience. If your cardio is not there, you're going to get taken down. That's true. Ever since the Ultimate Fighter show, he's been a beast. Sanchez, yeah, he's he's a future Hall of Famer, believe it or not. Diego Sanchez is a future Hall of Famer, man. He was one of the pioneers that really set the show off. Diego's a legend of the sport, man. He is. You can't say anything less than that. Regardless of what's going on with Diego Sanchez right now, Sanchez is a legend of the sport, man. You got to give him credit. That's just like seeing BJ Penn getting knocked out in the street of Hawaii, and you saying, "Oh, BJ Penn, he's lost his marbles." Yeah, BJ Penn has been a crazy dude for a long time. Oh, BJ Penn, he's not a good role model for mixed martial arts anymore. Okay, but BJ Penn is still a HOF. You know what I'm saying? Will you be celebrating jumping around with Cruz B Triple C? Cruz is going to do it for the people. I'm going for Dominique Cruz. But you know what? I'll be discrediting myself if I went up here and told you I'm totally confident that DC is injury free. I just don't see it because look, DC, he came back and fought some big fights and he was injured. When he came back and fought TJ Dillashaw, he had an injury. When he fought Cody Garbrandt, he was injured. Yeah. So I'm not totally sure if the injuries that he has will heal up. Will they be the same? You know how people have knee injuries, nagging knee injuries, and they have to train around them, back injuries, shoulders, and all that. Yeah, man. I'm going for Cruz. And I can't hate on. I'm not the type of guy to hate on another guy, another fighter just because I'm favoring one fighter. That's not the way I report. You know what I'm saying? That's not the way I do my media, report my media, and that's not the way I am in life. You know what I'm saying? If I don't fuck with you, I don't fuck with you. No one's just gonna sit up here and say, well, if so-and-so don't fuck with him, I'm not either. I have to understand a reason as to why that person isn't good. So basically what I'm saying for Henry Cejudo, what he's been able to do in his life, train the way he did, be embedded and trained at the Olympic Center, win the Olympic gold medal as a wrestler, man, come on. And then transfer over to mixed martial arts, come up here, face adversity because he just wasn't fully polished yet. He was a mixed martial artist, but he wasn't fully ready to step on the big stage and face Demetrius Johnson when he did. He ended up losing, but he showed once again how tough he is, how much he's willing to learn, how much of a different caliber athlete he is. And look, I'm telling you this, Josh, because Henry Cejudo turned the corner. He turned the corner when he fought Marlon Moraes. We talking about the same Moraes who went ahead and head kicked Aljamain Sterling, the same Moraes who went up there and head kicked Jimmy Rivera. You know what I'm saying? Henry Cejudo proved and turned the corner when he changed up his fighting strategy, his offensive strategy. When he was up there striking, he saw what was going on with Moraes. He said, you know what? Let me start digging to the body. Like, it was a pretty good stand-up match. And then he switched it up. And I appreciate him for turning the corner, man. That shit was pretty. I can't hate on Henry Cejudo. Even though I'm going for Dominick Cruz, I cannot hate on him, man. Dude is a freaking champ, man. Triple C. Let's hope the BMF belt is one-time thing because no one wants to see Jorge defend that against Usman. Nah. And lose. And Usman is the BMF. Let's be honest, Usman isn't the BMF. Usman is a terrible champ. Cruz Nation. D Hodges. See, I know a lot about MMA. Anything with fighting, I watch is just all good. All good card PPV. When will the fighters and coaches start flew out to Jacksonville and Gaethje and Cruz put on their Instagram? It's the final sparring session today, so that's what I'm wondering. I'm pretty sure that's not going to be something that's talked about, even though it's going down at the ViStar. That's not really something that's talked about anyway. No one put out on social media, especially Dana White, that he's flying the coaches out there to Jacksonville. This is a real big deal, y'all. Like, Dana White is going to be as secretive about the itinerary and travel arrangement as possible. He's definitely going to try to get them inbound into their hotels, living quarters, or whatever, and get them settled in so he can make this fight card work. Because listen, this is not a regular freaking, routine as fighters going to be rolling in to this fight card. These fighters have to be freaking tested. They have to go down there and get their meals established. They have to get comfortable. All that shit, man. I mean, it's somewhat going to be like a miniature, deployment, kind of like a military like structure just for safety precautions. You know what I'm saying? These people are going to be down there and they have to get tested. And then Dana White say, okay, if you get tested, you need to make sure you stay inside. Make sure you have we have everything inside this place that you need. I don't want anybody walking around town, going back and forth in here. I don't know the arrangements, but all I can tell you, they never really put it out there. And I'm pretty sure he's told the fighters that's on this card, keep this shit secret squirrel. I don't want a lot of people knowing when you're about to fly in and all this other shit. They need to show some more free fights. They got plenty of free fights coming up. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of free fights coming up. Believe that. Dana White, if this card is successful, May 9th, it's plenty of free cards that's coming up. He cannot sit up here during the pandemic and put PPVs on every other week or every week and think people are going to pay that shit. It ain't happening. There's going to be some free fights. It's just this card is loaded. It's PPV because it was supposed to have been Khabib and Tony Ferguson. Now it's Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje. So it has to be freaking PPV, man. Sometimes the UFC put on cards that isn't a PPV card. But on this card right here is PPV, and on paper, it's one of the best cards of all time. It's a heavy card. It's a heavy card. Yeah, it's a heavy card. Potentially, it may be. You know, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, the depth of it may say it's the best card. The depth, I don't know, because the names that's on the card, all right, can give you a little bit of value to that narrative of being the best card ever, a little bit. But if you look at some of the names on there, they're not doing anything spectacular. If you take the main event and co-main event, okay, but Nagano, Rosenstruck, they're building their names up again. You know what I'm saying? You look at Carla Esparza and Michelle Waterson, guess what? They're trying to build their name back up. Michelle Waterson has not been champion, but Carla Esparza has. You know what I'm saying? She's won a title and lost a title. But is it something that's going on that's really, really special? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And then if you look at, Ronaldo Sosa and Uriah Hall, once again, building their names up. They're familiar, popular names to the MMA fans, but they're not champions, you know. And then Vincent Luque, Nico Price, building their names up. And then we're not even going to get on. Look, we're not even going to get on Greg Hardy. You know what I'm saying? Man, I'm passing on that shit. But going to the next card with Cowboy Cerrone. Once again, Cowboy Cerrone, never been champion, multiple losses, multiple fight losing streak in TKO fashion to Anthony Pettis. He's had prior championship status, lost the belt, and had his ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it goes on and on to try to determine if this was one of the best cards. Because if we was getting fighters that was undefeated or with only one loss or two loss, and they was really like, if we had the main card with champions, that would be a tight ass card. Now we had the main card championship bouts. We're talking about middleweight. If we had Adesanya on this, if we had welterweight, along with the freaking lightweight, bantamweight fight, and let's just throw in there a light heavyweight bout with John Jones on there. Like if we would have had 5 fights on the main card, all championship fights, a John Jones versus Dominic Reyes 2 on this card, Israel Adesanya, whoever's next for him, or even an Israel Adesanya versus John Jones at light heavyweight, that shit would have been fire. It would have been absolute fire. What about DC? Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic for his retirement fight. Then, not only that, if we would have had the interim title on here for Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, and then turn around, and the second one, Henry Cejudo and Dominique Cruz, that shit would have been fire. It would have been absolute fire. But we got some people building up their names, yo. Like the featherweight fight that's on here, man. It's just like, okay. And then the entire fight, the start the card, really, we have Sam Alvey fighting Ryan Spann. That don't put my perspective as being one of the best. You know what I'm saying? But I understand where you're getting at. It has some good names on there, but I don't know. Fabricio Verdum, you know what I'm saying? Fights in versus Olenek. I don't know. Let's hope there's security at the hotel, because no one wants to see coaches and fighters fighting in a hotel and putting this card in jeopardy. Why would coaches be fighting? Why would anybody be fighting during this pandemic? And, a lot of these fighters, their families, they've been suffering. They ain't trying to jeopardize the bag. They trying to go in there and put on a show, y'all. Real talk. Real talk. They trying to put on a show. I hope we get online press conference this week. I want to see Cruz and Cejudo talk trash to each other. We'll see, man. I hope so. For Josh's sake, I hope they put on a press conference, man. Or even Skype, whatever the case may be. It'll be good to see Gaethje. First of all, Gaethje Ferguson. They the main event too. They have to be on there. And then, of course, Cejudo and Cruz. Everybody else, I really don't want to hear them say shit. Just give us that right there. Give us the main and the co-main. We good. Gaethje versus Ferguson, Cruz versus Cejudo, Nagano, Rosenstruck. Yeah, I know that. Reebok and UFC better get Bryce Mitchell some camo shorts for this fight. Yeah, Bryce Mitchell, man, he's fighting Charles Rosa, and hey, we're gonna see who the toughest guy. Who's the last man standing? That's the only thing I can say. Who's the last man standing? I'm checking my Facebook. Reebok and the UFC better get Bryce some camos. The card does 500K buys. I'm calling it now. Josh, that's funny as hell right there. For 500K buys during the pandemic, and people getting stimulus checks, and you got 20 million in unemployment. You're talking about 500K buyers, man. Hell to the no. I don't see it, shot. I don't see no 500K buyers. I don't care if there's no combat sports on and this fight goes off. Look, a lot of boxing fans don't know anything about the fighters that's on this card. A lot of boxing fans are not adept to okay, let me tune in to mixed martial arts because they have a card that's going on, and I don't know too many of the names on there, but I'll watch it anyway. I mean, you're going to get some of those, but a lot of boxing fans do not know the history between Tony Ferguson and the Khabib Nurmagomedov. He don't know the history as why Justin Gaethje was a nice fill-in for Khabib. They don't know that. They don't know the history of Henry Cejudo, Dominique Cruz. They don't know the history. They don't know the history, bro. They definitely don't know the history of Greg Hardy because he was in football. He was playing for the National Football League. They don't know Bryce Mitchell, Charles Rosa, if you don't follow the sport. A lot of people is not going to know Carla Esparza and Michelle Waterson either, man. Like Sosa, Ronaldo Sosa and Uriah Hall. Only if you follow mixed martial arts. But like I said, once again, if you're a BJJ fan, okay, yeah, Ronaldo Sosa, I might know him from that, competing in BJJ. But you're asking a lot for boxing fans to go over here and say, you know what, let me buy this mixed martial arts card. Let me do it. Imagine they got all the fighters on Skype at the same time. All the fighters would be trash talking each other. Dana White definitely wouldn't put all the fighters on Skype at the same time. It's disorganized, and that's not the way he do business. Either during the pandemic, he's not going to do business like that. He would definitely only have the fighters on there that's competing against one another, and if they're relevant. He's not going to give Greg Hardy any airtime like that. He's not going to give fighters that really haven't earned their gate. You know what I'm saying? The only person that you'll see on there just doing what the fuck he want to do, Conor McGregor. You know, Conor McGregor, Dominique Cruz, DC. Those guys, John Jones. Those guys can get on there and do what the hell they want to do, talk the way they want to. You know, I mean, that's just fact. I really like Bryce Mitchell and hope he can get this win. Yeah, Bryce is a likable guy, man. He's a cool cat. Very I want to say he's underrated, but as he improves his competition, we need to see how good he is. Like, I like him as a fighter right now because he's proven how tough he is. But in order for him to evolve with the sport and continue to grow, he's gonna have to keep on improving, man. Seriously, he's gonna have to continue to improve. He's basically set the tone and say, you know what? I'm not just a walkover. Regardless if you put me in a submission, I'm just not gonna tap. I'm not Kevin Lee. 500K. Let's put a bet over under 500K buys. The card free in my country. You only need the sports channel. So I don't know how many countries have PPV for this event. I go over Perky. You go over. Shit, you know, Perky, hey, take that money. Take that. Take that bet. Josh say my bet for this card, Ferguson Cruz, Qatar. Damn, so he's saying Qatar. All right. Damn. Qatar is on a tear. I give him that. He is on a tear. The Castro, okay. We'll see. We'll see what's up. Bryce Mitchell Pettis. Let's make some money. Hey, what's going on, Line Killer in the building? Salute to you, man. I just finished watching your video not too long ago, man. The last one you did about Julian Williams. Good shit, man. Y'all tune in Line Killer, man. Check out his channel. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Josh said, did you see Greg Hardy saying he wants to fight 6 times this year? He wants to go live on the island, go live on the island so he can fight. What's he smoking? I believe him, man. Greg Hardy's a crazy dude. You know, I can't knock Greg Hardy for having some screws loose, being that he played on the elite level of National Football League. Look, regardless of what you say, Greg Hardy is a maniac. He's one of those dudes, man. He's tough in his own way. For him to cross over to mixed martial arts, especially going through his domestic violence issue, Greg Hardy is a tough dude. Does he have a future? That's yet to be determined. You know what I'm saying? That's yet to be determined, y'all. Does he have really a bright future in mixed martial arts? He got a long ways to go. In his weight class and his skill set, he has a long ways to go. But from what I'm hearing, that he's in the gym working. That's all I can tell you. He's in the gym working. So it's only a matter of time, you know. Give him a little bit of time to see how it goes down, y'all. You think Bryce Mitchell would get some camo shorts? I don't know, man. To be honest, I can't tell you that. I'm not concerned with the money, and I'm definitely not concerned about what they're wearing if it's Reebok. You know, I would wish one point in time that Reebok leaves the UFC and they go back to the old school of having sponsors, independent sponsors. I used to love seeing that banner come over the top and they show all their sponsors. That was the shit, man. I like that. Did you see Kevin Lee tore his ACL and we'd be out for 6 months? At least Kevin Lee should take some time on the sport. Man, Kevin Lee, you know, I don't have no reason to dislike Kevin Lee, but yeah, he needs to take some time off. Lion Killer said, I want a Kumite UFC tournament, broken platform in the final and all tournament, broken platform in the final and all. Well, you know, if they have it on the island, you might get to see some Kumite rules. You know what I'm saying? You might see some motherfuckers in there, goddamn, getting their heart tore out. I don't know. But anything Dana White does, he's going to have it televised. So in order for him to maintain his ESPN and Disney, you know, sponsors, you know, and people supporting him, I think Kumite is out of the question. You know what I'm saying? We already see enough blood with 4-ounce gloves, especially when you have Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje on deck. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be some blood because that's all you see Tony Ferguson bleeding, bleeding, bleeding. And I'm pretty sure the Red Cross is going to be goddamn cage side trying to scoop up that shit. Come on, we can't be throwing away blood. They taking samples and shit. They doing their own little test kits over there. Let's make sure Tony ain't got COVID-19 again. Man, I'm telling you, they're gonna be trying to damn do anything and everything over there, man. They're gonna be trying to goddamn have a blood drive over that motherfucker, all of that. Someone asked DeCastro, will he smack Hardy harder than Hardy hit his wife or girlfriend? He said, yeah, I'll knock him out. DeCastro is a savage. They should, man. At that weight, of course, you know, other fighters are going to look at, look, check this out. Other fighters can sit up here and think it's the perfect avenue for them to point the finger at what Greg Hardy did. But a lot of combat sports fighters have domestic violence issues. I said it plenty of times before. It's easy for them to point the finger at Greg Hardy because it made headlines. You know what I'm saying? It's easy for them to point the finger because he made national headlines and what he did to his girl, but he wasn't charged. Like it was handled out of court or whatever. But when it comes down to another fighter saying, yeah, you know, I do this, that same fighter, DeCastro, may be smacking the shit out of his girl. It happens in combat sports, y'all. But Greg Hardy ain't no punk. It's just, I think that's going to hinder Greg Hardy's career excelling up the ladder in mixed martial arts is his cardio. I really think his cardio is going to fail him. Something ain't right. If the man had to use an inhaler, I hope he don't have asthma or anything, you know, because football is like a touch and go, you know, a stop and go sport. MMA, unless you put on your back and you able to stall your opponent or you put your opponent on their back and lay and pray and you got a referee that allow it to happen, you can get that shit. But him putting out an inhaler last time, it was disappointing. Perkins said, you think it's time for the UFC fighter? You think it's time for the UFC fighter, MMA fighters to start a union for fighters? The fighters the fighters in a sense can advocate. It's been fighters out there already, you know, that's trying to advocate for a union. There's fighters out there doing that already in the UFC. The lawsuit, you know what I'm saying? You have people like Mark Hunt. I mean, you have a lot of people that's been a part of trying to get some type of union established and make it credible and legit. So that's not far off the scale, you know what I'm saying? You have people right now working on that. Male and female fighters, they're trying to get that. And then that goes for boxing too. Boxing's trying to somehow, some way provide some type of union. So you can have more benefits for fighters. They can be better suited post-career to help themselves out. It's not coming up no time soon, though. I tell you that. Imagine if DeCastro knocks Hardy out. I really don't see the hype that Hardy gets, and he's a prelim heavyweight. Right now, I'm not impressed by Hardy. Josh, you have to understand that the UFC has a different type of mentality when it comes to getting knocked out. This isn't boxing. The UFC, you may see a fighter get knocked out, and you may see that fighter returns because that fighter has a pretty decent name. Seriously, you may see that fighter return because that fighter has a pretty decent name. You know what I'm saying? If Greg Hardy gets knocked out, Greg Hardy 9 times out of 10, Greg Hardy will be back. If he gets stopped and DeCastro knocks him out, Greg Hardy will be back because they believe in recycling fighters. We see it all the time. Just look at it. Cowboy Cerrone, perfect example. Nate Diaz, perfect example. I mean, look at some of the fighters in their records, man. They have so many freaking losses on there. So many losses. Look at Alistair Overeem. Look at the knockouts Alistair Overeem has experienced since being in mixed martial arts. Come on, bro. Alistair has like 18 losses in his professional career of combat sports. Did you see Robert Whitaker talking about his problems and saying he was burned out by the sport and had to take some time off? Yeah, I saw that before he started fighting again. Yeah, he said he got burned out. You know, he lost his belt. And a lot of people saying it was because of him having to assist his daughter with a bone marrow damn, I can't believe that shit left my mind. He had to help his daughter out with her bone marrow, and that wasn't true. It was basically one of those situations where Robert Whitaker lost his title to Israel Adesanya, and then he got back in the gym a little bit too early, and he just jumped off the treadmill and said, you know what, I'm burnt the fuck out. I need to sit my ass down. I mean, I'm just burnt the fuck out. I cannot do this transfusion. You know, that wasn't the case. His daughter, in so many words, he just kept that out of the equation. It wasn't a bone marrow transfusion. You know what I'm saying? It was basically saying he was burnt out, and I think he had an injury, and he's chilling right now, resting up, man. Isn't Mark Hunt and other fighters suing the UFC right now? I didn't read the article, but yeah. Mark Hunt, yeah, he's been at that litigation for quite some time. And, you know, Mark Hunt was saying that he should have received a portion of Brock Lesnar's check because Brock Lesnar defeated Mark Hunt, but he popped positive and nothing became of it. He popped positive and nothing became of it. Like, he should have got a percentage, but that's not something that's implemented in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? You pop positive, you get suspended, whatever, by USADA. It's not something that they say, okay, you lose 10% of your check. So I get what Mark Hunt is standing his ground, and, you know, he's trying to push the envelope and be successful at something that's rarely done, you know what I'm saying, at all over there in the UFC. So, yeah, they still at it, man. And you got to understand, the UFC has good attorneys. But I believe Mark Hunt has a pretty good case to fight for. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. I believe Mark Hunt has a pretty good, you know, a solid freaking case to fight for. Greg Hardy's career in MMA, if you summed it up in one word, would be controversial. I mean, his life in general is controversial. I agree. His life in general is controversial. But y'all have to understand one thing. Like, y'all have to understand, in combat sports, full contact, you know, combat sports, there's a lot of controversial characters in the sport. Greg Hardy, you think his domestic violence is worse than what Conor McGregor has did? I mean, let's be honest, man. You think Greg Hardy's domestic problem is worse than what Conor McGregor has done in the UFC? Come on, man. Him injuring other fighters, him throwing a metal dolly at a bus. I mean, no. I think Conor McGregor has done much worse than a lot of people in the UFC. He's able to get, what, 5 days of community service? Whatever, a slap on the wrist. I'm serious. You know, I'm not just comparing Greg Hardy to Conor McGregor just because. I'm saying you got to understand this combat sports, man. It's a lot of crazy people in combat sports. A lot. Look at BJ Penn. You think what Greg Hardy has done is worse than BJ Penn? That's a lot of crazy people. Edson Barbosa Dan has been scheduled for one of the cards during the week after UFC 49. Thoughts on Essen at featherweight? The only thing I want to see Essen Barbosa able to do, being he is a tough fighter. And Edson Barbosa proved something. I used to think he was one of those fighters that really wanted to fight at a distance until he fought Khabib. He fought Khabib. He took a whole lot of punishment. Seriously, man, I give it up for Edson Barbosa. The dude didn't quit. The beating that Khabib put on Edson Barbosa, he still went the distance. I say, you know what? He's just not this fighter that want to stay on the outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't believe that Cowboy Cerrone dropped Barbosa the way he did. That to me turned me off, really supporting Barbosa. I was like, does this dude have a weak chin? He got one of the most highlight reel roundhouse heel kicks, spinning heel kicks in the UFC. I don't know. It was a bit crazy on how his career was going up and down, and then he went in there and took that beating against Khabib, and he didn't quit. But what I want him to do at featherweight is show us something different. What threats are you presenting to earn the victory? You know what I'm saying? We know you're one of the fastest switch kickers in the sport. We know Edson Barbosa has amazing freaking coordination and fluency to his damn stand-up game. We know that. But I'm just curious to see, can he push the pace? Can he be a dangerous type of opponent with those kicks? It would be good to see Edson Barbosa use his leg kicks, low calf kicks, thigh kicks, like Jose Aldo used to do. Jose Aldo was known for his leg kicks, y'all. Like even with Justin Gaethje doesn't kick high as Barbosa, but when he finish up his combination, sometimes he will chop that leg down on the inside. I like that from Gaethje. I like it. He'd throw like what, a 4-punch combination, and then he'd end it with a chopping low calf kick. I like that, man. And will it be a brutal weight cut for Edson? Man, that's up to him. You have to look at Edson, man. Check this out. Look at what Jose Aldo was just able to do. And he was able to go in there and perform fairly decent. So for Edson Barbosa to drop down 155 to 145, I don't think it's a big deal because the dude is always ripped. You don't see Edson Barbosa walking around out of shape. That's real. Edson Barbosa is usually pretty consistent, So give or take, man, I think he has a good nutrition. I think his body is prepared to drop down from 55 to 45. And I don't think it'll be a tough journey for him. I don't think it'll be a hard weight cut. I mean, looking at Jose Aldo, look at that shit. Looking at Jose Aldo, that dude looked like skin on bones. You could have thought Jose Aldo was goddamn like you look at Darren Till. Darren Till was goddamn near death. You see Jose Aldo drop down to 135. This dude looked like he about to star in a motherfucking horror movie. I'm like, please, somebody get an IV over this motherfucker. Jose Aldo's about to die. Somebody grab a celery stick. I'm like, goddamn, help Jose Aldo out. He needs it. Yeah, Jose Aldo, he's another guy that really don't balloon up seriously in between fights. So I think Edson Barbosa will be good, man. Seriously. Two different guys. I don't want to compare them, but they're not known to walk around like a Johnny Hendricks, used to, like a Paulo Costa. You know what I'm saying? They're not walking around all huge like a DC. Even though DC right now at heavyweight, he don't have to worry about that shit because he ain't competing at light heavyweight no more. But yeah, DC between fights, he used to be up there, man. I just hope the fighters come out to some music and the UFC put some effort into the presentation and get some music commentary team. The octagon, darken the seats in the background. Man, Josh, man, you painting the picture, ain't you? Josh wanted to be set up like, he's sitting up there on the crowd like, let's go. I want to see all the requests that I have put in place. Let me see it. Come before me. Let's go. It's not going to be that way, Josh. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to say, you know what? Dana's going to call up, hey, get Josh on the phone. He wanted us to make sure specific music was being played, first and foremost, and also get Rogan, Anik, and DC down here and make sure they commentate and give us some play-by-play. We have to make sure they're on point, else they ain't getting paid, period. And then the seats, we need to make sure is minimal lighting on the seats. All right. We want to put some crowd interaction over the speakers. I don't think that shit gonna happen, bro. OSP a heavyweight. Thoughts on that? I'm not really about to talk about OSP. Over St. Preux, man, he's another guy, has multiple losses. I don't know where he's going in his career. I haven't given up on OSP, but I don't know, man. I don't know where he's going right now. And Ben Rothwell, man, come on now. No love tonight. OSP and Rockwell, nah. Nope. I remember Rockwell was a contender. They say he had some power, but no love tonight. UFC Brazil did it, darkened the seats. I love the fighter's entrance. Yeah, Brazil, they did what they had to do, man. Real talk. It was on point. I like what they did when they was over there. For real. OSP is Bill the gatekeeper. He is the gate. I mean, that bus swing open like a down south screen door, man. Like that shit just squeaky and shit. OSP, man, he's gonna come in there and do what he do. If he gets stopped, he gets stopped, man. I don't know, man. I really don't have nothing negative to say about OSP, but I really don't have anything positive to say about him as a competitor right now, because I really don't know where he's at in his career. Like, what is he doing? Like, where is he trying to go? What's your goals right now in that division? What's your goals in a career? OSP kind of reminds me of the guy. And you have a keyboard in front of you. The guy that was fighting over in Strikeforce, the brother who used to change tires at Sam's Club or whatever. He used to change tires, and he had a winning streak until he went in there and fought somebody at the top of the rank structure, and they ended up putting hands on him. But up until that point, he was really making a name for himself, like solid backstory, changing tires. This dude has a solid backstory. And then it all fell apart when he started getting exposed for the holes he had in his technique and everything else, man. He started losing. So people started like treating him like OSP, man. Like, okay, we know. And then he quickly left the sport. But when he came in, he was on the high. His name was on the surface, man. They was like supporting him. Yeah, he used to change tires, man. Yeah, that we know who you are. Man, the crowd was behind him like no other. And then he started losing. It's a wrap. I nearly freaked out. Early, I seen OSP Ben Rothwell, and I read the main event. I was about to freak out, but you read it wrong. If OSP was the main event, the views on that show terrible. I didn't read that, and it's no way Dana White would put them two as the main event unless they was having it in the freaking parking lot of Walmart. For real. I don't see any of that going down. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see it happening. I mean, he can have a job anywhere. One good thing about these mixed martial artists, they can teach the sport. Just because they're not performing well in the sport doesn't mean they cannot be teachers of the sport. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys who wasn't great at the sport, they're in schools, they're teaching, they're raising other people, they're doing great things. It takes a lot to teach these guys mixed martial arts, teach them the different layers to the sport. I'm telling you, for somebody who sat in on practices of mixed martial arts, that's a tough freak. Hey, listen, that shit is tough, man. That is tough. Mixed martial arts is tough. Real talk, it's tough. You have no idea if you never sit in training sessions, according to what day it is, according to what school you in. It's tough. You'll get exhausted watching them, especially when one of the opponents, just say your sparring partner, right? You start off from a bad position, and you have to work your way out of the submission. Like your sparring partner don't have it on tight, but they have it on enough to the point where once the bell sounds, you're already in a predicament that you have to work out of, or better yet, you have to work off your back, and you have somebody that's on top of you, and you have to work back and try to work up the wall, work your way up the wall in the process of protecting yourself. You're just not going to try to get up. You have to basically use technique, work your base, make it back to your feet, stand up. It's certain ways that you have to apply that shit in practice. And I'm going to tell you, watching it is an education in itself. It's just unbelievable. It's unfreaking believable watching these guys spar the way they do, working off the ground, mat time. I can't even mention names. I done seen some of these guys you don't see compete on TV in practice. I done seen them land some kicks and some punches. I can't even say their name because I have to go back. I want to go back and watch them practice again. So I can't put them out there like that. But I seen them lay down some motherfucking fire. And I'm saying to myself, I'm glad it ain't me, homie. I'm glad it ain't me taking that kick. I'm glad it's not me taking that punch. Seriously. One thing you don't talk about is what goes on in sparring. That's the code. So I'm definitely not going to do it. Patrick Henderson, what's good, man? Appreciate what you do, Scotty. I appreciate that, man. Thanks. Appreciate that. Real talk. Josh say, have you seen the young up-and-coming fighter in the welterweight division? Neil in the welterweight division. I've seen him fight once. I forgot who it was, to be honest. But I've seen him. He did fairly well, But just like these new fighters that's coming out, Sandhagen, Neil, who else is coming up? Like Bryce. Who else is making a name? It's a lot of people that's coming up. A lot of names. Like Volkanovski used to be that name. Peter Yan, Yan, he's coming up. It's so many people that's coming up through the ranks, man. But I don't feel no way about him until I see him face more and more competition. Like I've been covering the sport so long, it's just don't entice me to get all hyped up about one particular fighter unless they destroying dudes. I'm talking about first round type shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Like they go on a run and they doing first round. Look, I have to see cats doing more of what Conor McGregor was able to do, like Jose Aldo type shit. It don't have to be knockouts, but submissions. Shit like that. Like they really showing that they're a triple threat. You know what I'm saying? I want to see guys that's all around. Not a guy that's coming here. He got good stand up and heavy hands, but he get taken down to the mat, and we gotta like pray. Please get up, so we can see if you can knock this dude up, like we do Derek Lewis. Please make it back to your feet. I want to see all around, man. The game been around too long for anybody to step in the cage this day and time, and they don't have takedown defense. They haven't been practicing jiu-jitsu. Those days are freaking over for you to make it all the way up to the top like that. Like, as much as I say that, and then I look at Israel Adesanya, and he's that guy. He's the exact person I'm talking about, man. He's that guy, dog. We haven't really seen Israel Adesanya on his back, working his jiu-jitsu. We haven't really seen it, but he's shown he has pretty decent takedown. He's shown his ASICs. His ASICs work pretty good. He can run. Real talk. Patrick Henderson say, ready to get some boxing going. Real talk. We're definitely ready to see what the boxing is all about, man. But up first, just like Dana White said, what'd he say? Dana White said he's going to be the first. He's going to be the first, and that's where we at right now. If Dana White is able to make this May 9th card, then we'll see what's popping. We'll see if it's successful. 20, he already top 10 in the middleweight division. Let's hope he has a good career. One thing I can say about the middleweight division, it doesn't have a lot of depth to familiar names we used to. That I know. The heavier the divisions, it get dense real quick. Like the core divisions, you're going to get the 135, 45, 55, and then 70. You know what I'm saying? But when you start getting to the heavier, it all depends, man. Seriously, it all depends. Like, check this out. Middleweight. So, if you look at from Edmund, who's ranked 9th, right? Everybody that's down from 9th down to 15 are either guys who trying to make it, ones we don't know about. Guys have multiple losses already. We're looking at Uriah Hall. He's ranked 10th. And the people and the fighters with behind him is Tavares. You know what I'm saying? Madoff, Henich, Carlos Jr., and Anderson Silva. And Anderson Silva's like what, 48 years old right now? So, him being above those guys at 20 years old, that's where he should be. But of course, you have Derek Bronson, Gastelum, then it gets familiar names. Hermanson, Till, Romero, all of them are familiar names to mixed martial art fans. And look, these names are even familiar to casual mixed martial arts fans. People know Bronson, Gastelum, Till, all them guys. People know him. All the way up to Cannonier, Costa, and Whitaker. Even the casual fan know that. So, yeah, that's a good point, man. Kevin Gastelum took Izzy to the ground, and he got up straight away. His takedown defense is good. Yeah, right now, Adesanya's in the division where he's proven that he's pretty good. Like, you can say the same thing for John Jones. John Jones took down Dominic Reyes. Dominic was back on his feet. Easy. You know what I'm saying? And even when Khabib fought Alaquenta at the last freaking minute, he took him down, and Alaquenta was able to get up. Alaquenta never took damage like, the Michael Johnsons, Edson Barbosas, man, the Conor McGregors. He didn't. His seat time, you know what I'm saying? Believe it or not, Alaquenta's seat time was much shorter than most of the guys that Nurmagomedov fought. They didn't look. I was surprised how Alaquenta was able to make it. And I just thought about Matt Serra, how underrated of a BJJ game he has. Yeah. I was like, cool shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to get Alaquenta his love, man. He took that fight on short nose and still didn't get subbed out. He went the distance with freaking Nurmagomedov. But you're right, man. Gastelum did take him down. That was Gastelum time to shine. If Gastelum would have went in there and defeated Izzy, I just don't know if people would have, praised him. I don't know if people would have praised him like they do Adesanya. I don't know. You look at Stylebender, Gastelum. I mean, people like the style bender. They like his whole persona. They like his backstory. They like him, and where he came from and everything. They like his bravado, his trash talking. Of course, he can dance. Kevin Gastelum can't dance worth a damn. You know what I'm saying? But Dana White allowed Adesanya to do something that's not even done in the UFC. He allowed him to come out and perform a routine. You know what I'm saying? How often do you see that shit go down, y'all? How often do you see that shit pop? You don't. Hey, those in the building, man, hit that thumbs up button, y'all. Hit the thumbs up button. For real. But my people, I'm about to bounce. Bounce. For Josh's sake, I really hope the card goes down. I'm definitely going to talk to some people this week. And I'm trying to keep stuff to myself. But I'm really trying to get closer to the UFC card if I can. It's difficult. But believe me, if anybody tell you, like I'm in one place at one and I'm going to that, if I say I'm going to try to do it, I'm going to try to do it. I'm not going down there for nothing, though. It has to be worth the time for me to try to go down there. And, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are trying to go down there. But if I can report from down there somehow, some way, I am. Because it's a big deal. I definitely want to try to. I definitely want to try to. I'm trying to make some arrangements and trying to see what's popping. I'm not going to put too much out over social media. But yeah, I definitely want to cover and try to cover some fights. But like I said before, I don't think the fighters are going to be too open or receptive to talking to media, especially during this pandemic. I just don't think, unless you got a hardcore fighter that really want to talk, potentially like Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy might be one to talk. Say, man, fuck all that, man. I done been in worse conditions. Greg Hardy might want to talk. I interview Greg Hardy. Absolutely. I interview Greg Hardy. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? If I could interview some people on the card, for one, it wouldn't be Fabricio. I've seen him already. He's not much of a talker like that. You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, I definitely want to interview Dominique Cruz, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Henry Cejudo. 1 and 2 right there. 1 and 2. I want to interview them. Justin Gaethje, definitely. Who else? I don't know about Ngannou and Rosenstruck. I just don't know about them. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that's not anybody or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not sure that they'll be good interviewers. Really. Of course, Bryce Mitchell. He seems like a good interview. Who else? Who else on that card that I like to interview? You got Vincent Luque, Sosa, Uriah Hall. Not too sure about that. Definitely Cowboy Cerrone. Absolutely. Anthony Pettis. Oh yeah. Hands down, no doubt about it. I would love to interview Cowboy Cerrone because he give very good interviews. Anthony Pettis, very good interviews. Cejudo, Cruz, Gaethje. Not too sure about Ferguson. Ferguson, a different type of dude. Ferguson had a baseball in his hands the last press conference. Ferguson might come in there with a bow and arrow this time. Talking about he's doing it for whatever movie that's coming out at the end of the year. I ain't trying to get too close to Ferguson, dog. You know what I'm saying? Ferguson might sit up there and bring some new weapons that he just had sharpen up or something like that. And I don't know, the dude liable walking there with a bowling ball. I mean, I can't read it. And I'm not going to try to stand with them distance and interview him like that. I don't think he'll be a good read, man. Seriously. I don't think he'll be a good read, man, to interview. Real talk. Oh, another person I'd like to interview. Also, Sam Alvey. I think Sam Alvey would be a good interview. Smiling Sam Alvey. Are they going to be the same hotel like how they always do it? I have no idea. If I knew that, I wouldn't be on this live right now. I'd be already down there making reservations. That's real talk. That's real talk. I'm pretty sure they're going to be at some hotel. That's the only way they're going to have quarters. I mean, Dana White's not going to. If you know, Florida has opened up, so the hotels. I'm serious. The hotels ain't shut down. Seriously, the hotels are still good. So they're going to be staying in the hotel. It's just all about which hotel they're going to be staying at. Seriously. But hey, you know, appreciate all y'all for tuning in, man. It's been a pleasure once again. We shall be back on here. Everyone stay safe. You know what I'm saying? Do what you have to do. You know, build your immune system and everything. Wash your hands and all that. And appreciate y'all for tuning in. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. Salute. And stay safe out there.